Thanks, Leon. Very interesting, this move to steel. If anyone has questions, please ask Leon. We are a little bit late for the panel. So let's start then with the final panel. So I'm having to have with me Fabian Wany. Fabian is the director EPC sales at Greentech, a Germany-based EPC and developer. And just some background on Fabian. He's in the solar industry for over 15 years, for a long time associated with the Carnegie Group. Many of you who are longer in the solar sector probably know them. And had then some other jobs and is now with Greentech. So what I would like to do with Fabian is that we just simply talk a little bit about what we both saw at Intersolar and also reflect a little bit what we learned here. Fabian, welcome. Unmute, please. Min, can you unmute Fabian or anyone else?
Now I'm able. Thanks a lot for having me. Hi, Michael.
Hey, cool, you're here. Yeah, so let's take a look at that. So we have half an hour so to discuss a little bit. So when you were at Intersolar, I think it was amazing to see all these people again. It felt a little bit like a birthday party for me, at least. Also hugging people and really be in physical touch again. That was very nice. It was so busy and the mood was great. So I think so. If you look at Intersolar overall, what did that tell you about the sector and about the mood in the sector in Germany, in Europe?
Well, I think that, I mean, first of all, I totally agree with you. I mean, for me, it didn't feel like a birthday party because I don't have so many friends, but in general, it's been amazing. And there was great enthusiasm about the industry meeting again in person after such a long time. So I think that contributed a lot to the positive vibes that we had. And then on the other hand, I believe that we have, despite all the crises that we see globally, we have a huge demand hitting us in the various areas of our supply chain, and it's, I mean, it's a great area to be in these days, and therefore I believe, yeah, enthusiasm was great. Prospects are superb. We have huge growth paths in front of us, and I think we have little bit an oversight on actually how we are going to handle all this demand. And so I guess what we see coming up more and more is still, or continue to see, is a disbalance between demand and supply actually.
Yeah, so what surprised you most so when you were there? So
well, that I don't know. I mean, that nobody talked about COVID and Ukraine anymore. And it was really about, you know, the gigawatts or maybe now even terawatts, and what to do and how big your pipeline is. And if you talk about small megawatt projects, then, you know, your basically will be overlooked because you're not playing in the gigawatt range anymore. So it's, everything has, I think, multiplied a couple of times already, which is, I don't know, insane.
On the other hand, we're still obviously having some pandemic-related issues. Shanghai was locked until very recently, so the harbor could not be used. Everything had to be reshipped. In China, there were issues on several fronts. I recently heard that, I don't know, there was some issue with screens for cell screen printing because it's mostly coming from one city. And so I think there's always something. But still the products were flowing. So I think modules were coming, and we've been seeing prices increasing again on the wafer side, modules high stable. So how are you seeing that on the procurement side for all these demand?
It's interesting because from a gut feel, I would have said that, the imports from China to Europe would have actually reduced in the first quarter, but in fact they have raised by over 100% in the first quarter. So it's amazing to see how we're now pushing ahead with the energy transition in Europe. And despite the issues that we have in COVID restricted China, we do see steep imports from China. But I believe that maybe the numbers in April might be hit a little bit harder after the recent shutdowns there. So I do expect that we have maybe slight delays maybe on one or two projects, but I think in general the modules are coming, and we don't have any import duties or any political restrictions to import still from China. So I believe that Europe will have a very good year this year, despite the first impact of the Ukraine crisis, where developers had to, figure out again what to do and to maneuver around the price increases. But I think overall, we're very happy and lucky to be in an environment where energy prices are very high. And even though developers are maybe banking and calculating based on a low feed-in tariff an energy price, the upside or the uplift from the trading on the spot markets are so good that we can afford the higher prices. But it's a good position right now. And just imagine that maybe 2 years from now, prices might collapse again on the energy markets, and then we do have quite of a crunch, and then I don't know how we handle that.
Okay, that's not near term, I believe. So it looks rather that demand is stable. Actually, it's increasing. So it was interesting. The European Commission, for example, was even asking the solar sector to contribute quite a lot until the end of the year, because they want to get independent from Russian fossil fuel imports as quickly as possible. And so they looked at the different sector, what they could manage. And for solar, they asked actually quite a bit, but somewhat neglecting that although solar is very versatile and can react rather quickly compared to our friends from wind and many others, but still there is some permitting issues, and it's not that all these spaces are waiting for us to put solar modules on it, but they have to be developed. So how are you seeing that on the development side, in which you are also active at the moment? There's a big run. Every big utility is now moving into solar. Every big oil company, they all try to hire developers. There's a huge run for those guys. Salaries are going through the roof, so there's it almost feels a little bit like bubble like. but what are you seeing?
Well, so I mean, right now I don't see an acceleration in permitting. So I think is a general problem that you have when top-down politicians decide we need to move faster, and then how does it cascade down through the various levels? And so I don't think that we have now seen for our own development pipeline in Germany, a snap and immediately, I don't know, a gigawatt more fell out of the pipeline just because permits were given faster. So I think that is in a transition process, and it takes a little longer to actually arrive at the bottom of the chain. But I believe that we will eventually see some more easier permits coming in. But we do also see more competition on the connection points in Germany. So I mean, we're still lucky compared to other European states how stable the grid still is, and that we have the grid providers or the utilities are being required to actually offer us a grid connection point somewhere closer or further away from the plant. So the process is still a little different compared to other countries in Germany and in Europe. So we do see an intensifying competition, but there is still so much demand and space available for every one of us. So we personally at Greentech, we keep it very collegial and a partnership-like, and see if we're getting close to someone, then we just pick up the phone and try to solve the issue on the spot. Because yeah, we're solar players and we're team players there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think so. Permitting, something will happen. At least the European Commission came out last week with their solar strategy, and permitting was a major point. I think solar was not the main reason for that. It was mostly wind, where there was almost a standstill in several markets in Europe, and where you had really developed in times of 8-9 years sometimes for projects. It's not that far from that in solar, even if it is sometimes difficult. But I agree. I think that's that looks not so bad, and especially in several countries, it's going well. Although on the other hand, I found it really interesting recently when you look at the tender in floating solar in Portugal, when EDP won actually with a negative bid, and the reason was simply they just wanted to have this grid connection point, to which they also connect some wind and some battery, and that basically overcompensates then the negative solar bid. So I think there is in several countries really some desperation on grid connections. But let's talk a little bit about products also. So when you look at your projects and you look at what you learned at Intersolar and what you saw here today, so has that changed your view a little bit? Also, maybe midterm, not today, but tomorrow, on modules, mountings, inverters that you're using for your projects?
Yeah, well, in a certain way, yes. So I mean, you know, the 3 days we're super busy, back to back, all supplier meetings, and it's been great to see also new technology being introduced to the market. I think bottom line was that many module suppliers are now really taking on TOPCon or heterojunction. So I'm a big fan of N-type since a couple of years, and I'm glad to see that now mass production is starting to happen, or is already there, and that's a good thing. Me personally, I think deploying projects in Germany, it's on the one hand it's good that we have now the larger standard monoPERC project panels, let's say M10 or 210 based modules. So that's, I think, the mainstream module now in Germany. And so the migration from M6 has happened, and now looking forward, I'm super excited to try on TOPCon or heterojunction in Germany, but I'm still missing a little bit of a feel that the price premium that is being asked for is reasonable. We all do understand that there might be an LCOE advantage, but if the price premium for the module is exactly compensating the LCOE advantage, then I'd rather go with a running horse monoPERC and not with a newbie from around the block. So but it's good to hear and good to see that N-type is coming and on scale, and I'm very inclined to start using that in our project. And then on the inverter side, I guess it's I saw the Gamesa winning the award for its central inverter, so that's I think great achievement, and I'm stunned by the another uplift in efficiency. I thought 99% is already the highest you can get, but now they're made it even to the next level. Central inverters are not so really a big topic in Germany, since we're really going for diverted fields, and therefore we're very still dominated by the string inverter supply chain. And here it's good to see that finally the inverter manufacturers are coming and follow the module guys in terms of increased input current to make happen the combination or the integration of 210 millimeter modules, because that's been still a bit of a difficulty, and you could work it around. But for example, GoodWe was now able to really showcase their 250 kilowatts inverter that is able to handle the big 660 modules, for example. And then I think on the structures, for me, interesting to see again that also the German mounting systems manufacturers are investigating and developing further trackers. So obviously Germany is still a very strong fixed tilt market, despite European trend to go for bifacial trackers. And so yeah, we do see more and more competition in that end, which is good, because then we don't just need to rely on the American colleagues for trackers, but have a domestic supply chain in Europe as well, which will just help the competition here.
Yeah.
But I think in general, what's impacting our business really is due to the Ukraine crisis, increased steel and aluminum pricing. Cost for structures, be it trackers or be it fixed tilt, has increased severely in the first 2-3 months of the year, and has really shattered some of the calculations that we had. And it's now stabilizing a little bit, so we're able to quote correctly and are not so much in jeopardy anymore. But it's been a tough time in February and March, where things were tumbling really.
Okay, and looking at modules, so I found it interesting when Jason was saying that they teamed up with the JA Jinko, so all the 182 crowd. I think the 210 crowd is doing that also, so that they are really at least trying to get some sort of standard. How much for the form factors of the modules? How much was that bothering you? Because I don't know if you do your mounting systems on your own, some do, and then it works. I even heard from some guys that actually they prefer even smaller modules because the bigger ones don't fit so well to their mounting structures. So how's it at Greentech?
Yeah, I mean, the pain of EPC is obviously replanning a project 30 times before you can build it. And since the equation of LCOE changes every day with a new update from someone else, you constantly are maneuvering, through this issue. And if you have standardized products, at least you can you just need to do basically 2 basic designs and then still see which form factor fits better the site and the local conditions that you find. Because although I try to understand and find a solution develop an opinion whether 210 or 182 would be actually better, I truly see it now to be a case-by-case decision. And every site has its own geometry and requires maybe a different panel and a different structure supply. So therefore, it's very helpful to have the alliances now work on standardization and keep the same form factor. And I think that the 210 guys were faster to adopt the same dimensions, and the 182 alliance is now working towards it. So that's great news, and will make the life of many EPCs and developers easier.
Super. And but in general, the tendency is these large modules. How was that for you as EPCs actually? Because handling that is somewhat more challenging than the smaller ones we knew from the past.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are EPCs in Germany that still like the 400 watt peak panels, and then they mount them 6 landscape and find that to be most reasonable. We at Greentech, we currently rather go still for fixed tilt systems, unfortunately, and therefore the larger the panel, the lower your BOS cost saving really it is. And so, yeah, we're going for 540s, and I think now this summer we'll start with the 660s these days and see how that goes. And then happy to share our experience in 1 year or half a year from now to tell you how it went. There is some struggle, I think, on the installation side with panels that are so large, almost 2.4 meters long. So we need to, adapt to these bigger panels in general. But Germany having quite robust installation base, I believe we will be able to handle that.
Okay, so and that also went smoothly because, of course, in the beginning you had to change then designs for the systems, and of course you had new module inverter products and so on, and cabling was different. So, but that's all now standard and internalized.
It's a process, and it will continue. So you can always fine tune certain items, but I think we also work a lot with quite intelligent software, and are able to really then do fast iterations of designs and see whether there are benefits or disadvantages. And software like PVKs, for example, helps us quite a lot to make a first assessment. Okay. But we also, also Greentech is a technical advisor, and supporting other developers, and in the market, and we do not see such a strong adaption of these very ultra large panels so far. So I don't know, maybe we in Germany, we like it old school, where we're lacking a little bit behind, and just some developers are now going ahead, and bifacial you nearly see it all. But I think we'll get there by the end of the year. We have the first reference projects in Germany for bifacial, for large scale, ultra large modules, these kind of things.
You're also doing O&M, and due to the new technologies, due to high prices, due to sustainability, we see product design changes. So we saw REC one because of they don't use lead anymore for their module. We saw that Schmela, for example, came up with a new tracker that is much lighter to save on material. We're seeing now changes also from Ryzen in frames. So there are a lot of things happening because there's so many challenges, price-wise, sustainability-wise. So how do you see that? And do you fear maybe that with all this O&M work you're also doing, that there might be something popping up later? Because I think if you look at the modules, I don't know, 5 years ago and 10 years ago, there were hardly any differences. But in the last 2 years, so many things changed, and it's now, I think it feels like the speed is not slowing down; it just continues.
Well, yeah, the technology evolution is certainly much faster. So that hasn't really hit us yet in O&M, because we're like, in O&M, we're always lagging behind, maybe minimum 2 years or even longer. So we still, I think in O&M, we still struggle with snail trails, PID, and, even occasionally do retrofitting and revamping inverters. That's actually very interesting, and very makes us a good feeling to support our clients and bring yield up to where it was supposed to be. But I totally appreciate and would like to emphasize that a move towards more sustainable products would really help us to accelerate our energy transition. We still have quite an energy intense product, and every activity such as the steel frame, or maybe even green produced steel, like Thyssen is, I think, trying to do that in Europe now, or having, I don't know, lighter components. Not sure if that works with increased climate change and stronger winds, and the reliability needs to have there, and we have to have there. But I think in general, reducing carbon footprint in our supply chain is a must. We don't have the strategic I think regulation still in Europe that that honors a CO2 friendly supply chain. So there's no benefit, no premium for a developer to deploy these kind of things, but I'm sure this is being prepared and being worked on. So whatever the manufacturers are currently undertaking and preparing towards that area will pay out eventually, and maybe not in the EU, or maybe faster in the EU, or maybe in a different area of the world where CO2 will have a price premium sooner or later. So whatever is being worked on there is much appreciated, and I would love to deploy more products that are less energy intense and have a lower carbon footprint.
Are you seeing that already in the corporate sourcing market? Because I think these bigger companies are actually often very sensitive to that. So we had also one at Intersolar, one session actually, where we looked at regulations, ESG, and so on, and you could see that the NLs, the big companies are really more and more looking into sustainability, also for a reason, because they fear that there will be more resistance on a local level if people are just seeing simple blue fields. So that means.
I agree. So I think corporate buyers are a bit in front of us. So corporate buyers obviously are bound to ESG principles and need to deploy and act obviously faster. So I think in the general PV development, industry. So if you go free field, for example, and you sell just to the grid, then this is not really being acquired. But if your PPA off-takers are corporates, then this will become a more pressing topic. And then we're just starting to promote our assets. And I'm very curious to see what kind of requirements are coming from the corporate buyers to us as an EPC to change our bill of material accordingly.
Okay, maybe final question. So we're getting close to the end. So next Intersolar will be probably even bigger. So what would you wish as an EPC to see in terms of product developments, or so what you've been seeing on the horizon to speed up to be available on a commercial level at the next show?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the transition towards really standardized formats and really only two formats for each alliance, that would be great. So that we are really can have a swap if we need to. That would be great for the module guys. More carbon friendly products. I love the intro from Shravan on the Kavim backsheet with PET, with PET-based backsheets, recycled PET-based backsheets. That's a great initiative. So I hope to see more products from that end. Also more energy-friendly steel products, and yeah, I think that's my main concern right now.
Okay, wonderful, Fabian. Thanks a lot. That was great fun. Greetings back to Hamburg, and then let's wrap up quickly. So this was the end of. Thanks. And this was the end of the first day. We have a second day, so it was, as you could see, I think it was not strictly on utility scale. The companies simply showed what they had on offer and presented it Intersolar. Tomorrow, I think the focus will be a little bit more on rooftop solar. But what we will do is we start with Markus Fischer from ITRP International. Roadmap for photovoltaics that was recently introduced, and he will show us the highlights, trends, what new technologies are happening, and which are the trends in which direction things are going. And then we have a couple of more tier one manufacturers talking about their latest developments, among them Trina, Jinko, Astronergy, Jollywood, and also SPIC with their back contact solutions. So, and then finally we have again a fire chat. That time was Lars Podlowski, solar pioneer in Germany from the early days. Solon, every bigger company was involved with, and he has a new company, and we will also reflect then more the rooftop market side in Europe. Thanks again to everyone for staying with us. Here are a couple of reports you can download. We just published yesterday one on a market survey on PERC cell production equipment, can be downloaded for free. Solar module innovations is also fairly new. We introduced that at Intersolar. Hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks again to our sponsor and to all of you, to the speakers. Have a nice afternoon or evening, and see you back tomorrow. Bye-bye.